Every lesson is a lyric in the universal song. Oh, the lessons of the journey, I'll weave them in my song.
Hello, welcome back to Lessons of the Journey. Thanks so much for spending time with us today. Coach Jen and Coach Nicole here. If you're a new listener, thanks for checking us out. Today, this is a fun one. I'm really excited about it. We're diving into something that might just hit close to home. Second wins and side quests. This sounds really intriguing. What are we talking about though? We're talking about those unexpected pivots, the passions, the playful experiments, or a personal upgrade that can help us feel more alive, more aligned, and sometimes more like ourselves. And that can happen in your mid years of life and beyond, because your best chapter might just be your next one. Somewhere along the way, we as a society, we're fed this quiet lie that life starts to shrink as we get older. We're told that adventure is for the young, that reinvention is risky, and trying something new might just feel embarrassing. So, whether you're 42 or 72, it's easy to feel like big changes are behind you and that life is more about maintaining than discovering.
But what if that's just one version of the story? What if we flip that script? What if this is exactly the moment to get curious, take a side quest, and rediscover something new about yourself? Not because you're lost, but because you're still becoming. Whether you're navigating career changes, an empty nest, or just feeling a little stuck in the same loop, this episode is for you. We're diving into playful but powerful ways to say yes to what's next, with stories, research, and small experiments that remind us reinvention doesn't need to be a crisis. It can be a creative and intentional act. Let's get into it. Starting with defining second wins and side quests. Jen, what do they mean?
Well, if you've ever played sports, a second wind is that, oh, I hit the wall. Just kidding. I'm back at it. Or, oh, I'm done with my children tonight. Just kidding. Next day came. For side quest, it's an optional supplemental mission that is not directly related to the main storyline. So it's something that runs outside of the day-to-day, the normal thing, the thing we thought.
I love that. We're writing our own story. And when I hear side quest, I always think of a video game. We're on a quest. So let's talk about some famous late bloomers, because we want to prove to you that you do not have to be young to make things happen. Number one, let's talk about Julia Childs. You know, she did not attend culinary school until she was 36 years old. Okay. Her first cookbook actually came out when she was 50.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. Next, we're going to talk about Vera Wang. Did you guys know that Vera Wang was actually an Olympic hopeful?
I did not know.
Yeah. And then she became a journalist. And she did not design her first dress until she was 40 years old.
Wow.
You don't have to do it in your 20s, you guys. Toni Morrison is a published author. She published her first novel at 39 years old. She won the Nobel Prize at 62.
Yeah, get it, girl.
Right? We are not too old for any of this stuff. These women didn't follow a linear path. They made bold, beautiful shifts later in life. And their stories help remind us that age doesn't close the door. It can open better ones.
I love this. There's so much ahead. Let's talk about the science aspect of it. I geek out on this stuff. We're going to talk about neuroplasticity. What is it? Yeah, essentially, you're not stuck with the brain you're with right now. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to change and adapt throughout your life. It forms new neural connections, it strengthens existing ones, and it even reorganizes itself in response to new experiences, learning, or injury. Dr. Michael Merzenich, one of the pioneers in this field, he says that you're never too old to change your brain.
Thank goodness.
Right? You might have heard what fires wires. So whatever is going on, your brain is literally reconnecting neurons. So let's talk about some facts. Whereas your brain was once believed to be hardwired after childhood, we now know that the adult brain remains highly adaptable, even into our 60s and 70s and beyond. New behaviors, thoughts, and experiences can literally rewire your brain. It helps you learn new skills, shift your habits, and change emotional patterns. Regularly engaging in new, challenging, or meaningful activities, it boosts your neuroplasticity. Things like learning a new language or learning how to play music or even practicing mindfulness have been shown to enhance it. So you can't teach an old dog new tricks? BS. That old dog's got to want to learn. So if you think of your brain like a garden, every time you learn something new or change a habit, you're planting a seed. The more you water it, and that's with repetition, attention, and effort, the stronger it grows. So what happens over time? The weeds of old patterns can be pulled up and a whole new pathway can bloom. So neuroplasticity is your brain's way of constantly being in springtime.
I love neuroplasticity. I think this is so amazing. And I think so many people believe this. So we're going to talk about this even deeper, that we are born who we are and that we can't change. And this is proof that we can change. Mm-hmm. I love it. This stuff excites me. Yes, yes. So we're going to talk a little bit about the growth mindset. This was actually coined by psychologist Dr. Carol Dweck. And it's based on decades of research in motivation and learning. Love this concept. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the growth mindset is the belief that your abilities, intelligence, and skills can develop over time through effort, learning, and feedback, rather than being fixed traits you're born with. So we know this is true because that's what Jen just told us, neuroplasticity. Our brain can change over time. Now, here's the thing, though. People who believe they can change, even in midlife, are more likely to pursue new goals and bounce back from setbacks. So this is not just about the fact that we can, it's about believing we can. Mm-hmm. Now, one of the most important things about the growth mindset, I want to make sure we dive into this, is being okay with the not knowing. This is really a key part of the growth mindset. And one of the biggest shifts that comes with a growth mindset is learning to be comfortable to say, I don't know yet. And unfortunately, our current society is really focused on smartness being equated with knowing the answer. Mm-hmm. Intelligence is not the ability to store information, but to know where to find it.
Yes.
This is a quote by a really super smart guy by the name of Albert Einstein. Okay. If Albert Einstein says something on intelligence, I'm listening. Like, I feel like Albert Einstein equals intelligence.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about Albert Einstein? He was an awful student.
Yes.
He was a troublemaker. He was told by his teachers that he was dumb. Go figure.
Yes. Now, if you say, well, I'm not an Einstein,
yeah,
that literally means I'm not smart. We literally equate Einstein with intelligence. Mm-hmm. He also says, and I think this is fascinating, the true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination.
I love that.
Okay, let's talk about that. Because doesn't imagination usually come from looking at the unknown or outside the box? I mean, that's where imagination comes from.
Well, you think that if he would have taken everything that was available to him in books and applied it to life, that he would have become the name that we know today with the theory of relativity. And I talk to my kids all the time about where would that have come from? Knowledge is simply stuff that somebody already told you that you're remembering. I've never heard this quote. It makes me happy.
And you're so right, because it comes from the questioning. And the questioning comes from not knowing and being okay with not knowing. Mm-hmm. That's where imagination comes from. Well, why does that happen that way? It's being inquisitive and questioning. And we don't really have details about it today, but I really like the concept of the Socratic method, which has a lot to do with coming to the table knowing nothing and just seeking knowledge from everyone around you. And Socrates got in a lot of trouble. We look at him now and we're like, oh, well, that's Socrates. He's fantastic. He got in trouble. He died because of the Socratic method, because he actually sought knowledge and he was willing to die for it. It's just fascinating that this is these people that we know of as being super intelligent, or they both come from a direction of not knowing, imagination, asking questions. And they were both either troublemakers or, in some way or another, they thought outside the box.
Yeah.
And yet we equate them with intelligence.
What's interesting throughout our lives, children are born with so much imagination, and somehow along the way, whether it's traditional schooling or your parents not thinking that you're being respectful if you're not listening or doing things the way they said, slowly we suck the imagination out of our children, and we just expect them to know. We expect them to have the knowledge that we have and perform the way that is expected of them. We lose that imagination as we grow. I think it's the biggest disservice that we can do to our kids.
I agree with that 100%. I think if you look back, your best teachers ignited your imagination. They made you think about things. You go to science class, they don't give you just, here's the data. They say, let's blow things up.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're interested in, why does that do that? It's that imagination of, wait, that's interesting, making it imaginative. And I love that. So if you're going to embrace a growth mindset, you're generally going against society. Okay, so what do we mean by that? Well, let's talk a little bit about growth versus fixed mindset, because that's actually the opposite of a growth mindset. It's called a fixed mindset. And because not knowing something can feel like failure, can be embarrassing, like it says something about your worth or your intelligence, it's often easy to fall into that fixed mindset. The fixed mindset is the mindset that knows everything already, that doesn't need to ask questions or doesn't come from the seek first to understand concept. Do we have any of that in our society right now? I know it all. You know nothing. This is the concept of fixed mindset. Instead of saying, wow, what do you know that I don't know? Let's come together. Okay, in a growth mindset, not knowing is where the magic starts. It's an invitation, not an indictment. I'm going to say that again. It's an invitation, not an indictment. Not knowing is okay. People with a fixed mindset actually believe that traits like intelligence or talent are static. In other words, you either have it or you don't. Now, what's funny, because Jen just talked about neuroplasticity, we know it's not static. Yet in our society, for some reason, we're stuck on this. All right, I'm going to tell you guys about this very, very interesting study. I would even venture to call it a clever study. Ooh. So researchers played the exact same musical performance for different people. The only thing that changed was they told them different stories about who was playing. One version said the performer was a natural talent. The other, that they worked hard to develop their skills. Now, even though the recordings were identical, people, even professional musicians, rated the natural as more gifted.
Interesting.
Yes, and it just shows how much we romanticize natural talent and underestimate and undervalue what practice and persistence can really do. This shows how deeply embedded that talent bias really is in our society.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, you hear that often. I hear that with my kids. We're an athletic family and I have young children and they are standouts in sports. And it's a compliment to give, oh, he's a natural. He's a natural.
Yep.
And then my response is, well, he better be. I was a collegiate athlete. Their dad was a collegiate athlete, played semi-professional football. Like, he better be a natural. But if he wasn't, what we also encourage in our family is practice, practice, practice. The only way you get good at anything is by repetition, doing, learning, moving, acting, figuring it out. So I did not know about this study, and that is fascinating.
You've got families who brothers end up both being quarterbacks in professional football. And you go, that must be natural talent. Right? That's what most people say. Well, that's proof of natural talent. Let me ask you this. Those brothers were raised in the same household, probably played football the same way, generally had a father who knew what they were doing. Usually this was somebody who played college, if not professional. They've been practicing in a pro way since they were children. What is that book regarding the 10,000 hours? Okay, so the concept of the 10,000 hours is you will be a professional in anything if you put 10,000 hours of work into that thing. Now, mind you, there are certain things, for example, I'm almost 6 feet tall. I'm not going to put 10,000 hours into riding a horse and become a jockey. Okay. Because they're all like 5 feet tall. Then again, that jockey's probably not going to put 10,000 hours into playing basketball and become a professional basketball player. So there are certain things that obviously are going to have to do with how your body is built. Mastering your 10,000 hours of dedicated practice. This is Malcolm Gladwell. It takes 10,000 hours to master something. He wrote about this in one of his books. He kind of blew out the whole natural talent concept and said, this is just about putting in your time, putting in your 10,000 hours. Yet we still, as a society, are so grasped deeply into this concept of natural talent.
Yeah, I think it was Bruce Lee. I'm awful at quoting when I don't have it in front of me. Something to the effect of, I'm more afraid of the person across from me who has practiced one kick 10,000 times than the person who has practiced 10,000 kicks one time. One kick practiced 10,000 times makes you a master. If you at least have your go-to that you are a master of,
right,
you can count on that, the one. And that just really says you got to put the effort in to become good at anything.
Yes. The book is Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. That's where the 10,000 hour rule came from. Very interesting because it was based on studies. And I find it fascinating that we are so deeply ingrained in the natural talent. And instead of saying to you as a mom with kids who are great at something, wow, you guys must practice a lot.
Yeah.
Why is that not said?
Yeah. To which I would respond, yes, we do.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. Now, here's the thing about the 10,000 hours. You have to remember, 10,000 hours is a lot of hours. You've got to have a joy for something to go 10,000 hours. I mean, no one's going to do, well, if you're doing things for 10,000 hours you don't have a joy for, we have an episode for you. If you have to look up which one it was. Yeah. Don't do 10,000 hours if you don't love something. But I think most people won't put in the hours. You have to have that love for it too. Then it becomes, oh, they're natural. They have a love for it, so they practice. They love it, so they practice, so they become natural.
Yeah. When we talk about nature versus nurture, we hear that quite a bit. And there have been plenty of studies done on little babies through adulthood on nature versus nurture. And at what point do they intersect? And how would we know? Really, okay, you're born a certain way and your life and experiences and practice and mindset and all of those things play into the nurture part of it. What did we really come out with and what are we really turning around? As you can tell, we both love this topic. Yes. It is so fascinating to us.
I think it's worth talking about, like I talked about a jockey. Certain abilities take certain things you have to be born with in a physical way. Mm-hmm. That being said, how many stories are there of people who have physical things and overcome them in a way that no one ever thought they could?
Yeah.
And that's proof of the nurture. I think we as a society have put a large portion on nature and a small portion on nurture, and we need to flip that. Yeah. I think we've said 80% of it is natural and 20% is learned. And I think it's the other way around. I think 20% of it is what you're born with and 80% is what you do with what you're born with.
Makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Especially knowing what we know now.
Yeah. And also you talk about the nature of it where you're born. I personally spent very little time in my life on a horse. I don't know. Maybe I was meant to be a professional horse rider. It's not a thing for me, but you know what I mean? Because I didn't have that experience in my life. That would be the nurture. Where are you in your life? Where are you born? What are you born to? What do you have the experience of being a part of? That all plays into it. I think we put way too much into nature. And I think we need to put a lot more into nurture.
You know, I was just sparked thinking of the movie Good Will Hunting. You know how he's, a janitor at Harvard, and he's not had a formal education almost ever. He's kind of a troubled kid. And he goes in that room with this math equation that's taken people years to not be able to figure out. The professor comes in the next morning and he's figured it out. It's because he was self-studied. He had the drive to go and learn, whether he had the ability to attend formal education or not. That did not stop him from growing and learning and becoming as brilliant as he was. I think that speaks exactly to what we're talking about. Nobody can stop you if you have a drive to do something different.
Agreed. You are so right in that. Think about teachers would not matter as much if it was nature.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would just have a natural ability. But teachers matter. And I have teachers that took me so much higher level because they approached it in a certain way that just brought out all that. And that's not natural. That's nurtured.
You're right.
That's nurtured. So we have to talk about the nurture. Back to people with a growth mindset believe they can improve through practice, curiosity, and persistence, even when they fail.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about failure, because I think this is something that we also, as a society, I mean, if you say to somebody, hey, I want you to fail 100 times, they'll look at you and go, I don't want to even fail once.
Yeah.
I don't want to fail a test. Getting an F literally stands for fail.
Yeah.
You failed. Does that have any positive connotation in any way whatsoever in school?
No.
No, you're not allowed to fail. You're not allowed to get an F. I'm not saying that in school I want you to get Fs. What I'm saying is I want you to learn that failure can be an incredible thing.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before. You look around anywhere in your world, anything that was created by mankind failed.
Yep.
Or was an accident.
Yep.
There was no, hey, I want to do X. I'm going to go do X. And I got it right the first time. That's just not a thing. We don't get it right the first time. We have to fail. And yet we're so uncomfortable with it.
Yeah. We forget that time is so transient. Oh my gosh, this thing, everybody's going to see me. Everybody's going to know. It's all I'm going to be known for the rest of my, like, we turn these tiny little things in our lives into the worst possible thing ever. I might as well go hide under a rock and die because I could never live this down. I'm going to encourage everybody to look back in your own life and think about those times where you were just absolutely mortified. And maybe you can't even think about one of those times. Guess what? Because they're gone. They're gone. And nobody in your life is reminding you of them.
Yes.
I stood up on stage one time and I said, remember, Kim Kardashian got famous from a sex tape that nobody talks about anymore. Because there's this, who cares? Was it embarrassing? Maybe. Was it intentional? Maybe. Does not matter. These big, huge, crazy, embarrassing, awful things in the moment, because we are human. We do have an ego. We're, it's a natural thing to feel scared sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone. It's gone the minute it happens. You get to change the narrative. You get to create it to be what you want it to be. And that's such a beautiful thing, I think.
Yes, it is. It is a beautiful thing that time cures the ills.
Yes.
You're in the moment. It's okay. Honestly, if you're not used to failing, because you'll get that emotional reaction to it, and you have to tell yourself, you have to almost guide yourself through it and go, you know what? It's okay that I'm failing because it means I'm trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to be really clear. This is not about blind optimism. It's not about everything's going to be good. No, it's about seeing challenges as a chance to grow instead of a reason to give up.
I love that.
So when you say, I don't know how to do this, just add the word yet to the end. I don't know how to do this yet. You're giving yourself permission to be curious, to learn, and to grow instead of shutting down or avoiding it altogether. That yet is small, but it is mighty.
Yes.
And a little side note on growth mindset. A growth mindset doesn't mean believing you can be great at anything overnight. It means knowing you can get better at anything with time, effort, and patience. And it is not about perfection. It's about progress.
Yes. Let's remember that progress part. That's really, really important. Because I just want to touch on language surrounding it. So often we try a thing and we go, I am a failure. I failed at that. I am a failure. And you've heard Jen say before, I am is the most powerful statement any one person can say regarding themselves. So we have to switch up that narrative. You are not a failure because you tried a thing and it didn't go well. We can change a number of things going on in there. The words, the phrase, the intent. We can say things like, "Ooh, I tried this new thing. Didn't go as planned. I'm going to try another different way to go about that." Now we get curious about the process. Instead of, "I am a failure. I have tried a couple of things and I have failed at all of them. And so therefore I am." It becomes our essence. No, 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 no. Let's fix the language. Let's fix the narrative. That helps shift what's going on with us a little bit in I would say, the appropriate direction.
I agree with you. I would add, don't be afraid of the word fail, but stop making it such a negative.
Yes.
I failed this time. I'm going to try again. Why is failure becoming a stopping point for so many people? I failed, therefore I know another way that won't work.
Yes. Yes, that is very cool. Also, if you don't like the word, don't use it. Pick a new word. You really don't have to put yourself in a box. If you go, "Oh, I have an aversion to that word, it really brings up something," don't use it. Use a different word. Like we just said, create the narrative the way that it works for you. You don't have to use words that don't work for you. I've done that before with plenty of things. My natural inclination would pull a definition about a word that just really didn't sit with me. And if it doesn't sit with you, think of it a different way. You have the power to do that. You have this big, beautiful brain that we're talking about, and you have the power to do that. So let's just talk about the psychological inside of our mindset. Your brain is wired to learn best when it is slightly challenged. Shocking. We don't learn everything in our comfortable zone. Not overwhelming, but not coasting. That middle ground where we're stretching just a little bit. There was a 2018 study published in Trends in Cognitive Sciences found that embracing uncertainty and intellectual humility actually improves long-term learning and emotional resilience. What? Becoming okay with being not okay? What? How does this apply to our real life, especially in midlife? Embracing a growth mindset can help you pivot careers, start creative projects, or learn new skills, even decades after doing things one way. It reduces fear of failure and increases motivation, which is crucial during times of reinvention or transition. When we are less afraid to try something, we try it. It makes a ton of sense. You can think of a growth mindset like treating your life like a muscle. The more you stretch it, use it, challenge it, the stronger it gets. Even if it's a little wobbly at first, it's all part of the getting stronger. So let's sit back and take a thought for a moment. Where are we in our lives where we are waiting to feel certain before taking a step? I am that girl. Oh, I don't have enough information. I need to know more. I need all of the pieces before I can make, it never gets done. Nothing ever happens waiting for all of the pieces to come together. Another reflection. What would happen if I just gave myself permission to not know? What if it was okay to just start and see where it goes?
Sometimes you just got to do it.
Yeah.
It's not easy sometimes, but I think it's important. So what things are we talking about actually doing? What are we talking about here? If we say, okay, we want you to have a second wind or a side quest, like, what are those things? We've got some light adventures with some big impact. First, we want to talk about some examples from some real women. Angela was 52, and after her youngest went to college, she started a 52 hikes in 52 weeks challenge. I think that's so cool.
That is.
Now, clarity, she did not do this because she loved hiking, but because she needed to remember what it felt like to do something just for her.
I feel that so much right now.
I bet you do. So what was the outcome for her? She had less anxiety, she had more energy, and a new group of friends.
Bonus.
That's awesome. Okay. So Mari was 44. She left her corporate job to train as a trauma-informed yoga teacher. She did this not for money, but for purpose. She didn't need a new title. She needed a new rhythm.
Oh, I love this.
Both of these to me speak to bravery.
Absolutely.
It's brave, and it's bringing up things in my life that I do that I don't think of as brave because I just do them because they need to be done, and yet they are. They're stepping outside of a zone you feel comfortable and just going, I'm going to do this, and it's either going to work or not. That's bravery, right?
Yes, to answer your question, absolutely. One of the benefits, and this sticks out so strongly in my mind, I remember throwing my mom a surprise 60th birthday party. It was huge. I remember chatting with her about like, wow, mom, you look amazing. You appear like you are the happiest. You just enjoy so much of life. And she said, I got to tell you, Jen, it just keeps getting better. It just keeps getting better. You start to lose the care about what other people think. You start to worry less about the consequences. You start to live a little bit more for yourself. And that's a really wonderful thing. So, like we said in the top, your life is not shrinking as you get older. It actually is opening up into new possibilities that couldn't or wouldn't have existed in any of the previous years. I think that it's important to consider that timing is necessary, and that maybe all of these second wins that you could be looking to have only could happen at this point in your life.
Good point. Yes. I think my life is expanding as I'm getting older. I have a knowledge and an awareness of what really matters. I didn't know what I valued in my 20s and 30s. I was lost in my 20s and 30s. And I feel like now in my 50s, I'm just starting that journey of understanding so deeply what I value, what matters to me, what I want to spend time doing, who I want to spend my time with. So much clarity as I'm getting older. That maybe it's just me, but I hope it's not. I hope it's all the people that are getting older.
For me, my circle of friends has gotten smaller and smaller the older that I have gotten. Now, what does that mean? That means that I now have designated people in my life that care the most about me and what's going on, truly and genuinely. People who know that if something was said about Jen, they'd be like, I know her. That is not true. That is not happening. And because of that, these people, women specifically, have become my hype people. They care so much about what I care of for myself. So I feel so safe going, all right, y'all, I'm trying this thing. I'm a little wiggly about it. I'm trying this thing. I'm going to start this podcast with my friend Nicole. Jen, get it. All right. We're going to listen. We're going to tune in. We're going to send it to all of our friends. We love listening to what you have to say, your thoughts behind it. Go get it. Send it to us. Let us know what's going on. Not one of those went, are you sure? Maybe nobody will listen to you. Not one person that I trust with these kind of intimate things, these insecurities, these vulnerabilities would go, maybe you shouldn't. Every single one of them went, hell yeah, it's about time. Go get it. Report back. What do you need from us? And I think that that's so necessary. So the people that you're afraid of knowing about you doing these things might just be your biggest cheerleaders.
Very true. Yes.
know.
We need cheerleaders. We all need cheerleaders in our life, 100%. I'm at a different point in my life, and I feel like I have the cheerleaders, and I also have sort of the outer group that they're in the maybe realm. We'll see how this goes. Maybe acquaintances and maybe deeper, depending on time.
I love that you're discerning about that too. Who gets my time?
Yeah.
That's necessary in this too.
Yep.
And if it's something that you've thought about, let's think about it. I've been wanting to do pottery for couldn't tell you how long. What do we do? Let's try a new class. Pottery. Improv. Oh, holy hell. Can I tell you that's been on my, if you ever get the guts to do it list to take an improv class. I'm fine standing on a stage. I'm fine giving long speeches. I'm fine talking to groups of people. And for whatever reason, improv just makes me feel so uncomfortable, which very much means that I have to do it.
I will tell you, I've done improv and I have no problem with it. There's other things on this list that terrify me, but that one I think is so much fun.
How funny.
It's so much fun.
Okay. I got to get it in.
Yeah, improv is a blast. Because you get to make it up. Like, yeah.
That's what's so cool about it. It is made up. See, these rules or these ideas that we put on ourselves, they don't really exist out there. And if we're talking about ideas, try something new, anything. Another idea would be to say yes to something you might normally decline. There was a time in my life I went through the yes era. I'm not really excited about the way my life has been lately. And yet I find myself going, no, I'm not going to go there. No, I can't do that. Okay. Jen's in her yes era, saying yes to everything. Jen, you want the speaking gig? Yes. Jen, do you want to go for coffee that day? Yes. Can I tell you how much my life opened up when I started saying yes to things that I would normally make an excuse not to do? Opened up. So what is something that you might normally decline? Is it solo travel? Is it a public speaking event? Something that might give you the rumble in your tummy that makes you feel really yucky? Try saying yes to that. See what opens up for you. Another idea would be to learn a new life skill. We know that we can do this now. Do you know how to change a tire? Maybe not. If you don't, learn. Do you know how to use a tool that you've never used before? Why not learn? There's this thing out there, if y'all haven't heard of it, it's called YouTube.
Yes.
YouTube University is where we go to do all of the things. You don't know how to change a tire? Look it up on YouTube. You don't know how to make ice cream? Look it up on YouTube. You don't know how to have that really tough conversation with your kid about the thing? Look it up on YouTube. You can learn a new life skill. It's easy to get in there and get the information. Put yourself in that stretch moment because those are the times that we grow. I love this idea. Y'all, you can take yourself on a curiosity date. What? What is that? You could go alone to like a bookstore or a museum or some weird event that you normally would say no to and just watch. Just taking yourself there and saying yes to that. Maybe we're not participating yet. Maybe we're just there observing. Maybe something in that space lights you up. Maybe you get new fun ideas. That is incredible. I used to be afraid to sit alone and eat. And now it's my preferred way of consuming food. I used to be like, oh no, it's weird. I'm just going to sit. I tell you, as I got older, recognizing that I know what I bring to the table, proverbially, I would rather spend time with myself than be forced into some small talk conversation, than be forced to spend time with somebody that I'm really not excited about. So I now eat alone. For me, it took bravery to venture out and sit at a table by myself and put food in my face. I'm there now, but it took a minute. So try something you might have always been curious about, but never gave yourself permission to explore. It could be any one of these things that we've been talking about. Maybe you used to write and you don't anymore because life got in the way. Pick up that pen, grab a journal, express yourself, go to that dance class, learn how to salsa. It might get you, why the hell not is what I say these days.
I love those ideas. There are so many good ideas. I'll do it because I think I've gotten over caring what people think I look like, right? I'll show up to a class and I'll go line dancing and dance like crazy. I'm there to sweat and work my heart out and have fun. How I look is so unimportant to me now. That's part of what I've lost as I've gotten older. Like, you don't think I dance well? I don't really care. If I look like an idiot, I mean, my friends make fun of me. I make fun of them. We have fun together and it doesn't matter. I'm here to have a good time.
It doesn't leave that space usually either. You go out, you make a fool of yourself, and you're living the same life you live the next day. Really, it doesn't carry over. It doesn't matter.
I burn more calories though.
There you go. Win-win.
I'm telling you, the more bigger you dance, the more calories you use. You may not look great, but burn more calories. So let's talk about some myth busting in midlife. One of the myths, I'm sure you've all heard this one. If I haven't done it by now, I never will. Okay, well, a 2020 Stanford study showed that purpose and personal growth actually peak in midlife, often due to increased self-awareness and emotional intelligence.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We didn't even talk about emotional intelligence, but yes, EQ has lots to do with it too. Bonus fact, listen to this. The average age of startup founders is 45.
Yeah, you've learned a few things along the way.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know
That's
that.
awesome. I would have guessed it was in its low 30s. So I was
Yeah.
like, 45, yes.
That's fantastic.
Myth number 2, I'm too old to learn something new. Can't teach an old dog new tricks. Sorry, wrong. Research from Harvard Medical School confirms that continued learning and novelty improve cognitive health even into your 60s and 70s. All right, myth number 3. It's selfish to focus on myself now. Ooh, I've definitely heard this before. Actually, according to a 2022 study in psychological science, women who actively cultivate personal interests and hobbies report higher life satisfaction and are more emotionally available to their partners, kids, and communities.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I was in what they would call an advanced maternal age when I had my children. So I'm in this midlife thing, raising a 3 and 5-year-old. And I certainly understand that it feels selfish to focus on myself. I have these little people running around that need all of my attention. Their dad has seen it in action. Jen is a better mom, a better partner, a better human when she can get the rest and the refuel that she needs. I'm going on 44. That is midlife. That is what we're talking about. I'm 1 year away from a startup, apparently.
There you go.
If we can, again, shift the mindset, change the narrative, it is an act of service for me to cultivate personal interests and hobbies. I am better for the people that I love. Yeah, switch that narrative up and get off on that improv stage.
I'm telling you, it's fun. I think you'd love it.
Probably. If anybody knows anything about me, I'd be like up there making up a bunch of stuff.
Random stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And
this was such a fun thing to talk about. I really hope that somebody finds inspiration here.
yes. I mean, I found inspiration.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are your takeaways, Nicole?
You know, one of my takeaways is it's really important for me to walk my talk. That's always important to me. Walk my talk. Am I perfect at it? Oh my God, no. I blew all this stuff and I'm not an expert in any of it. And if I'm going to talk about something on our podcast, my goal is always to walk that talk. So as I'm going through this, I'm thinking, so what have I been doing? It made me kind of go, hey, I did this and I did this in the last year and I did this. And I don't give myself credit enough sometimes for the things that I do that are stepping outside of my box. I had quite a few second wins and side quests that I never really acknowledged what they were. That being said, I also thought of a couple more things that I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to incorporate that too. So I got both inspiration and realization of what I have done. Also, anytime we talk about failure, and I embrace the word because I want to change the narrative for me. It's a little less of a demonic word for me. So I want to conquer that word. And I actually like to use failure as such an important thing. I always say you either learn something or you fail. Mm-hmm. I always want to learn something. Yeah. I want it to be a lesson. I think failure is okay. I think we can do that. That's just the way I approach it. But I love this. I love talking about how our brains, I mean, when we have the proof, it's like, okay, now you just have to believe it and move on. I love that.
Yeah.
So,
and
good stuff.
Isn't that now you just have to believe it? If it's not coming from inside of you, maybe you can take it from the gazillion studies that have been done that says you're wrong. Let's change the fixed mindset into
over and over and over. You can change, you can grow, you can change, you can grow.
It was a small part of what we talked about. And I think that maybe it didn't get enough attention, which was so often when we're done raising children. I've seen it so much. You've had your children, you had a career, you're at the end of it, you're ready to retire, but retirement doesn't seem right. Your kids are gone and you're like, what now? I guess I'm done. And you don't have to be. It's not a failure to go, I want to switch things up. I personally know I have this group I call my old lady friends. And by old, I mean like in their 70s plus. I'm not calling you old if you're that, but you are my older lady friends. One of my friends, she said, I've always wanted to be a chef. She was a mortgage officer. I've always wanted to be a chef. She went to culinary school at 71 years old. And not that she was going to do anything with it, just because it made her happy, just because it got her out of the house, because it was something that she found passion in. And you know what? Good for her. All of these things, what's been simmering? I can tell you, I have a whole list like, oh, that would be really cool to do one day. Da, da, da. I'm hoping to get there. I really, really am. When I was younger, I wished that I had that boldness that I saw so many people have. It was like maybe this young thing, like, forget it, tomorrow doesn't exist, and I didn't have that. I was born with guilt and my mom was always watching. As I've grown, I've been able to cultivate that boldness. And that's what I need to use to step into these things that are a little bit scary. I think the biggest lesson for me, my biggest takeaway is nobody's paying attention anyway. Like, they've got their own stuff going on. They're worried about what you're thinking about them. They're not worried about what you're doing.
Yes,
that
so
was really, these go back to triggers from my childhood. I couldn't possibly because, and now I'm the adult. Nobody tells me that I can't. So the ability to go, oh, I can, I think is a beautiful thing. And not until I had to have my own children and get out of that, whatever it was, to go, it's on me now to create this for myself. I love it. I love it. Also, neuroplasticity is like the bomb. Yes. Thank you, brain.
Love it.
All right. Question time, Nicole. You ready? I'll go first.
Okay.
And I really like this question for today's topic. What was the last thing to pleasantly surprise you?
Last thing to pleasantly surprise me. I had a moment where I was hanging out with my daughter-in-law, and it was just a really nice, pleasant moment. I can't explain why it pleasantly surprised me, but it was just a really neat moment. It was in our pool, which was kind of cool because our pool is new. It was just a pleasant moment. You know, where you had those moments where you just feel really calm about the world and just everything feels settled and just right with everything. I haven't had that in a while. So it was really cool. And it was cool that it was with her and I and my granddaughter in the water. And it just felt like life was good. Life was right.
I love
just
that.
One of those moments.
Yeah. So, I'm so happy for that for you.
Yeah. It was
awesome.
Nice. Yeah. Good stuff. All right, my question for you is, choose a character from a book, movie, or TV show who is the most similar to you and why.
Oh gosh, book, movie, or TV show. You know, I connect with so many different pieces of so many different characters. Okay, I'm going to answer your question and not answer your question at the same time.
Oh, cheater.
I know. Okay, so there's this book. I should look it up right now. It's called The Tao of Pooh.
Yes, my grandchildren have it, but I've never read it.
The Tao of Pooh was written in 1982, 1 year after I was born, written by Benjamin Hoff. Okay. My version of explaining this book to you, it's Tao as a religion. It goes into all of the characters that exist in Winnie the Pooh. Pooh Bear, Tigger, Christopher Robin, Piglet, Owl. And it takes the characteristics of each one of those characters and it kind of lays out how and why they are. And when I say I identify so much with each of the characters, little bits and pieces of me, when I read The Tao of Pooh, I felt complete. And it's a tiny little book, y'all. Like it's a pretty quick read. It seemed like it put all of me back together, if that makes any sense.
Wow.
And I'm not a big movie watcher. I fall asleep. I don't go to a lot of movies. I don't do a lot of TV watching. But I tell you, this book, it made me feel all of the things all at once, only because I'm a huge Winnie the Pooh fan. It put life together for me and all of the different characters I could be in somebody's life and all of the different characters that somebody could be in my life. I just found it so interesting. The genre is philosophical book. It's a Taoism book. And if you haven't read it, I definitely recommend it. So I'm sorry to answer and not answer all the same.
I think that's an answer. I mean, you only picked one book, so.
Okay. Reel it in, Jack.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm going through the characters and I know the Winnie the Pooh characters very well. My oldest and my youngest were very much into Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And something to learn from each of them. I definitely.
For sure.
Man, now I got to go back and read it. It's just brought back all of the pieces. It's very cool. Anyway,
I love that.
to wrap this up, we would like to invite you this week to pick just one little mini side quest, just one that nudges you toward curiosity, not pressure, not perfection. It could be dusting off that hobby you forgot about. It could be trying something you've never tried before. Because reinvention doesn't have to be dramatic or a complete overhaul. Sometimes it's just a new way of seeing yourself, a little braver and a little freer. Do you have a friend that could use a little shakeup too? Share this episode with them and see if they're up for trying something new or different with you. And remember, no matter your age, it's not too late. It's just not. It's not too late. We give you permission to go and do. And good luck.
Love it. Bye.
Bye.
Write your lines with